Welcome to Mac
and Jack Talks NBA.
Hello, everyone. In today's episode, we want to talk about good shooters. Some of the good shooters we want to talk specifically are Reddick and Joe Harris. But I also want to personally give shout outs to other great shooters. For sure, in our opinion, number one's probably Damian Lillard, aka Logo Lillard, aka Dame Time. He is very clutch. Another shout out, of course, you have to give is another pure shooter, really good as well, Klay Thompson, but he's out for the season. Another one, I wouldn't put him in the category of a pure shooter. He's a little bit inconsistent. The beloved two-time MVP, Stephen Curry. And one more shooter as well I want to give a shout out to. James Harden. He is, in my opinion, a great shooter, very smooth stroke. So some categories that I personally give on how I think a shooter is great is that clearly you're able to shoot at a very high clip and shooting field goal percentage and three-pointer percentage and free throw percentage. So all three of those things with an emphasis on the three-point shooting because of today's modern NBA. A lot of teams need good shooters, need to shoot threes to stretch out the defense and put pressure on the opponents. And so that's what is the first thing I look at. The second one is how aware you are in getting into the open spot to catch that shot and shoot it. If your teammate passes the ball to you slightly off angle, are you able to adjust very quickly? Are you a quick shooter? Are you able to shoot when you're contested? Are you a clutch shooter like Damian Lillard? Are you able to shoot in many variety of ways? For example, are you able to dribble the ball a few times to shoot? For example, Klay Thompson in his first year or second year into the league, he was just a pure shooter in my opinion. He barely put the ball on the floor, but now he has developed himself into more of a scorer, not just a pure shooter. He's able to drive in when people close out on him really close. He's able to dribble a few times. He's able to add a pump fake. He's able to add pump fakes, jab steps, or step backs. So all of this is now a complete package in today's modern NBA as a shooter. So for me, these are the criterias you need to have. Also, when you're playing with the second unit and there are defenders and now you're the number one scoring option and people double team you and they drive at you. Are you able to drive in with your handles and kick it and create plays and create assists? So these are the things we look at in trying to check if and verifying if you are a good shooter. So who do we want to talk about first, Jack?
So we want to talk about Reddick first. The difference I see when he changed teams 2 years ago when he was in the Philadelphia 76ers and his current team, the New Orleans Pelicans, what I noticed is when he was in the 76ers, he wasn't the primary ball handler because there was Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, all the Jimmy Butler, all these other etc. good players. So what I noticed is how Reddick gets his shot when he was in the 76ers is that he plays during the half-court offense when Joel Embiid screens for him. They play hands-off, so then it gives Reddick several options. First, if it's on the right corner, he can either go dribble 2 times before he releases his three-point shot, or he just goes onto the opposite side of the screen so he can curl to get that open, wide-ass three-pointer made by a nice screen by Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons because they have such gravity to suck in 2 or 3 defenders. While in the New Orleans Pelicans, what I see is when the first year he was in the New Orleans Pelicans, he had to do a bit more ball handling responsibility. He's improved on his handles a bit more. He drove in a lot more. He also even did like a little Rajon Rondo fake Euro step lay in his he ran more transitions, opened up the floor by him being the ball handler, and then if the defender gives him 2 or 3 inches of space, he just jacks it up wide against you, like when he played against the Suns. However, after Zion Williamson was drafted, what I noticed is that I saw that recently Stan Van Gundy drew up a very good play, not only for Zion Williamson, but also for JJ Reddick. So let's give a general story. Usually it's the point guard or the ball handler's responsibility, and the big man is usually the one who sets the screen. So then the point guard or the ball handler has several options. A, either he drives it in himself, take that contested mid-range, or he just lobs it up to the big man or give it to the rolling big man. However, Stan Van Gundy recently came up with a design which is a reverse screen and roll, where Zion Williamson is the main primary ball handler running up the floor, while JJ Reddick is playing the big man's role, so he sets screens. That way, Zion Williamson has several options. He can either drive in and bulldoze his way with his raw superhuman strength, because when he drives in, there's at least 4 guys who notices him. That way, it also frees up JJ Reddick when he reverses back the screen, so he goes to the 3-point line. That gives JJ Reddick an open shot, or JJ Reddick can assist it out to other open shooter. Or Zion Williamson can drive in and just kick it out to another open shooter. Like how they ran that play so many times when the New Orleans Pelicans played against the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies had no response to that. Because Zion is such a threat, JJ Reddick is even more of a threat in the 3-point line. So what else do you see of being a good shooter in JJ Reddick?
Yeah, JJ Reddick has really developed himself into a complete shooter and really evolved his playing to be more well-rounded like Klay Thompson. His handles are a lot more tighter. He's able to drive in a lot more, as Jack said, especially in New Orleans Pelicans, where he handles the ball a lot more. Previously, during the 76ers, his primary role as a shooter was to space out the offense because 76ers sorely lack shooting. Besides Tobias Harris and an ugly Al Horford three-pointer, you need to get JJ Reddick going to have the space, because you have a Ben Simmons that cannot shoot. You have a Joel Embiid that mostly only shoots mid-range shots. And you have a Jimmy Butler back then who does not shoot a lot of threes, even though he's capable of doing so. In New Orleans Pelicans against the Memphis Grizzlies, we saw when the Grizzlies did not have the front line or did not have the versatile defensive players to contain Zion Williamson, it was a nightmare for them to play against. As Jack said, JJ Reddick would play the role of a big man usually, a role usually preserved for a big man in setting picks. He sets a back pick. Zion Williamson goes in, and then Memphis Grizzlies has to collapse on him because Zion Williamson is able to head to the rim and change hands and float in the air and somehow manage to score in every way. And the help defender, usually the third defender, cannot help off JJ Reddick because he's such a good shooter. And in many instances, they did help off JJ Reddick, and JJ Reddick made them pay dearly, either by shooting a wide open three, so wide I had enough time to wash my hands and sing happy birthday to myself and dry myself off before JJ Reddick could even shoot it. That's how wide open JJ Reddick was. And as usual, and a commonality between all shooters in today's game is how a lot of these shooters get their shot. A lot of it, the easiest one is either you have great teammates that can penetrate the defense, draw in a double or triple team, and then your defender leaves you and you stay in the corner or you stay on the elbow and they kick it out to you and the ball somehow finds you and you shoot a wide open three. Those are the best ever because you're so wide open, your feet are set, you're balanced, you have all the time in the world, and you hold your follow through. The second easiest one is probably when you are in transition. You're dribbling the ball, you're looking around, you're pretending to survey, but you realize that defensively the team you're playing against are not aware that you are a deadly shooter. They don't come up all the way 30 feet up into the beyond the three-pointer to guard you, so you just pull up and shoot a three. Some players back then that did and kind of pioneered that, in my opinion, at least from what I know, is a Chauncey Billups, is a Steve Nash. Ray Allen and all those other good shooters as well did that. Previously, this was not accepted. You did not just pull up for a three-pointer. But then people realized as shooters got better at shooting was that it is actually easier for them to pull up and shoot a three-pointer when the defense is not set. If you run the whole play, the whole point is to get those three-point shooter to be open in the first place. So pop it. If you miss it, maybe there's a 50% chance. In reality, probably a bit lower than 50% chance that you'll get an offensive rebound anyways. So that is the second easiest way. A third way would probably be a dribble handoff. You have a big man who is very deadly, very versatile, that could drive in and could also do a pick and pop and is good at assists. So you give it to the big man, you drive and you come off the screen and you do a dribble handoff and you get a wide open three. Those three are, in my opinion, the best way to get a 3-point and easiest way to score a 3-point shooting. There are many other methods as well. If you watch the old Mark Jackson Golden State Warriors, you'll see how for Stephon Curry and Klay Thompson, they run crazy, insane offensive plays such as the elevator plays. You screen to screeners. There's all these misdirections and all these other offensive plays that you could do to get the shooters open.
Yeah, and also Spurs also made a good play to get the corner threes open was the hammer play, especially in the 2013 to 2014 season, where Danny Green got a lot of those corner threes. Kawhi also got a lot of those corner threes. These are attributes to become a good 3-point shooting team. And as Nelson said, one of the ways that that makes a person a good shooter is when in your team you have a all-star or Hall of Famer level is able to penetrate 2 to 3 guys for a great shooter to just lick their lips and wide-ass open shoot at the three. Joe Harris does that, for example. When KD is bringing up the floor, KD drives in. He attracts at least 2 to 3 defenders. So then the third help defender has to choose either between. Joe Harris is generally in the corner spot. So what I saw was, in general, you either help from the corner or the top of the key. However, it's difficult because Joe Harris is such a threat. You're pretty much giving him a practice shot. That's how Joe Harris got so many open threes. And he, against the Washington Wizards, he shot at least 8 threes. Was it all easy? Absolutely not. But he was able to do it because he played a lot of hands-off, transition threes, KD driving in, kicking it out to Joe Harris, or an open man kicking it out back to Joe Harris. And then when Joe Harris is off when the star players are off on the bench, what I saw the difference was Joe Harris was more assertive, driving in, either popping in from the mid-range, from the top of the free throw line, or near the free throw line, or when he's not able to drive it himself and take those J's, what he does is he penetrates inside, kick it out to such as a factor of Jeff Green or Landry Shamet. They can get some open, wide-ass threes, which helps the Nets move the ball so the offense is not as stale, which is why the Nets have one of the top offensive net rating in the NBA. It's because 7 seconds, because we all know that Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni likes to run those 7 seconds or less. So you try not to touch the ball as much, set your offense quick while the opposing team does not have the chance to react. When you're able to touch the ball more, you get more chances to shoot.
Yeah, a staple of Mike D'Antoni's offense is something I want to talk about as well. The hammer play that Jack alluded to is very, very deadly, but very simple and easy to understand. When there's an offensive player, your teammate driving in, what you usually want to do is cut or float to the corner where you're wide open, and they'll just hammer it, pass it, and throw it to you along the baseline, and you usually will get a wide open three. It has two secondary effects. First, it pulls the defenders away and it stretches out the defense to allow for easier penetrations. And when the held defense comes, it gives you those wide open threes. PJ Tucker made a living off those corner threes and actually led the league in a 3-point percentage in efficiencies from the corner threes. He made a lot of money off those corner threes. So it is a very, very effective play. As Jack has said, Joe Harris, when he is playing with the superstars a la KD, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, he is spotted in the corner to shoot those threes. And if you think about it, when KD, Kyrie, and James Harden attacks, they usually attack starting from beginning of the middle of the floor. When they beat their man and they're heading to the rim, that must mean a few things. One of the most important things is that they've beat their man, so there's going to be no help coming from their man. The secondary, the beat would be coming from the elbow. By the time they get to the basket, and James Harden or KD or Kyrie Irving's able to beat them, where is the third help defender? It has to come from the corners, which is why the corner three is always open, and which is why Joe Harris is always there, available to shoot these wide-ass open threes. Him and JJ Reddick, so wide. Oh my goodness, it takes like 3 seconds off the clock. And as Jack has alluded to, Joe Harris is integral to the Brooklyn Nets offense. Shooting is so valuable these days, and Joe Harris is able to understand his role within the team, to be able to stretch out the offense, to punish the defenders for helping off of him, and to stop the ball drive of Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving or James Harden. It makes him super deadly. And another integral part of his ability is being able to generate some offense by himself. He's able to put the ball on the floor. He's able to drive in a little bit. He's able to pull up for a mid-range two-pointer. He's able to pass and give assists to his teammates. So offensively, the Brooklyn Nets are a nightmare to defend just because of all this penetration, all this shooting. They got shooting as well from, as they said, Landry Shamet and Jeff Green. So they are very, very deadly. So this is why we wanted to give a shout out to, again, our list is JJ Reddick, Joe Harris, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard. These four are our top active shooters right now. And in my opinion, James Harden and Steph Curry are just right behind them as well. So thank you for listening to today's episode, and wait for our next week's episode. Thanks for listening. This is the end of today's episode.
Please like, share with friends, and subscribe.